And welcome to Rob Schmitt tonight. No White House agenda reveals who's really in charge more than the equity agenda. Clearly shoved down Joe Biden's throat by the Obama holdovers who are really running your country right now. Remember, Obama was easily the most radically left presidential nominee Democrats had ever put up. And even though Obama couldn't stand Joe Biden, he needed Biden to shore up uneasy moderate Democrats in places like Delaware and Pennsylvania, who are less likely to be white-guilted into voting for Obama's radical agenda. Biden had no idea what he was really getting into back in 2008, and he's just as lost today. On Thursday, Biden's quasi-Marxist overlords implemented yet another equity scheme into every single branch of your federal government, telling agencies within 30 days of the date of this order ensure that they have in place an agency equity team within their respective agencies to coordinate the implementation of equity initiatives and ensure that their respective agencies are delivering equitable outcomes for the American people. Equity peppered in that sentence about 4 times. Equitable outcomes for the American people. So no longer equal opportunity for all, the idea that made America the shining city on the hill. Your federal government is now pushing equality of outcome, straight from the Marxist playbook right into every single branch of government, pushing further the vile that they've been spewing since they took office.
So when we talk about the work we are doing here together, it is recognizing that and being guided by this principle of what we must do in the spirit and in the interest of equity.
The bottom line, advancing equity is not a one-year project. It's a generational commitment.
He doesn't even have any idea what he's talking about. It's hard to overstate how dangerous all of this is, of course. So the Department of Justice is now what? Going to consider racial equity when they charge crimes, federal crimes? What, white and Asian people will be charged with crimes more often in the name of equity? That's exactly what it's going to be. We've always knew dangerous ideologues on the left would find a way to dismantle this great society. We watched them plant their seeds in all of our major institutions. And now we're watching those seeds sprout simultaneously all around us. We're suddenly surrounded by this everywhere. It's where you work. It's where your kids go to school. And now it's throughout our entire government. Biden's new executive order states departments and agencies have engaged in historic work assessing how their policies and programs perpetuate barriers for underserved communities and developing strategy for removing those barriers. Creating the illusion of white supremacist barriers when there are none, of course, is paramount to the mission. Ironically, the people telling you all of this are the ones who actually created these equity problems in the first place by unleashing the narcotic of welfare on the American populace 60 years ago. And their next big idea to fix the disaster that they've created and exacerbated when they devastated the black community is called equity, and it will drown and drag this country down even further. As the left fully abandons personal accountability and merit and eviscerates the desire to work harder, to achieve, to get somewhere, replacing drive with contempt for those who have more. A perfect example of this resurfaced in recent days. Listen to the change. This is a great example of how society has changed in just the last 5-10 years. Here's CNN's Don Lemon back in 2013 with a message for the African American community.
Walking around with your ass and your underwear showing is not okay. In fact, it comes from prison when they take away belts from the prisoner so that they can't make a weapon. Respect where you live. Start small by not dropping trash, littering in your own communities. I've lived in several predominantly white neighborhoods in my life. I rarely, if ever, witness people littering. Finish school. You want to break the cycle of poverty? Stop telling kids they're acting white because they go to school or they speak proper English. More than 72% of children in the African American community are born out of wedlock.
So that popped up, resurfaced because of what Don Lemon's going through over at CNN. But isn't that incredible to see in the context of today? Doesn't that tell you so much about what's happened to this country in recent years? Astonishing how much the left's ideology has changed in just a decade. A request for personal responsibility like that would be considered flat out racist today. You'd never hear Don Lemon say that today. If you haven't made it, it's everyone's fault but your own. That's the new message. The most toxic ideology you could impose. And while equity takes center stage inside of our federal government, reality is hitting woke corporations that pushed the same nonsense because the government told them to. And it's coming with tremendous irony as virtue signaling companies immediately are switching off the woke equity spotlight as they start laying off thousands to alleviate the squeeze on their profits, which is what they really care about. And it's interesting to see who's getting chopped. A new study by Revelio Labs shows firings and layoffs for diversity, equity, and inclusion roles have outpaced those of non-DEI roles at more than 600 U.S. companies that laid off workers since late 2020 and have accelerated quickly in the last 6 months. Companies, big companies, American Airlines, Glassdoor, Wells Fargo, Amazon, Twitter, Nike, all cutting the DEI hires first. The ultimate reality check. After years of living in a woke fantasy land, of course, you're going to see something like that. And of course, it won't happen with the federal government's diversity hires because the government can be endlessly incompetent with zero repercussions. And the grifters who made small fortunes screaming at hardworking people who are employed by these fake woke companies are getting a wake-up call as well. One DEI solicitor named Maddie B. Blue on Twitter tweeted out, "I'm normally booked 15 plus times during Black History Month. This year I'm booked once." Another, Jody Ann Burry, replies, "In real life, 0. Last year I had over 30 events on the calendar, contracts signed, deposits deposited. This year, nothing." It's easy to see headlines like that and relish in the equity Gestapo finally getting hoisted from their position, which once sat above us all. But dig deeper into that. Think for a moment what this says about the corporations who solicited these clowns just to check a box. And remember this moment the next time there's some ridiculous propaganda created by the alt-left, which is immediately embraced by the government and massive corporations willing to pander to any ideology and do any amount of untold damage to this country just so they can avoid scrutiny in the short term and continue to make billions and billions of dollars unfettered. You really think Nike cares about equity? You think your government cares about equity? Get real. This is about one thing. It's about votes. Desperation to hold on to the black vote as millions are seeing cracks in the facade of a liberal agenda that has failed their race for a half a century. It's always been just about votes.